Some political news here. I saw that for the second year in a row, President Biden has declined to sit down for an interview before the Super Bowl. It's for the best. I saw somewhere it said the pregame interview has been a presidential tradition since 2009. 2009? That's not really a tradition. That's like a restaurant named Ye Old Tavern, established 2022. You got...
That's as good as it gets on late-night comedy television today. You know, the Democrats are just not funny. Womp, 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 womp. Yes, sir. Some hackers, maybe in China, maybe in Chicago. Cyber attack on a Chicago children's hospital has shut down its systems for a week. Sure, why not? Children's Hospital of Chicago. Is that going to be a problem? Womp, 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 womp. And in Ireland, there have been 11 arrests during an Irish Lives Matter march. There is an Irish Lives Matter march. Democrats would be very angry about this. Dublin, Ireland. Going to Dublin on our sea cruise later this year with wonderful listeners. Dublin sees heavy police presence, 11 arrests amid Irish Lives Matter march against mass migration. Dublin deployed more than 300 police officers amid a massive march against the push for mass migration and a counter-protest in Ireland's capital city on Monday. According to the Irish Independent, 11 people were arrested amid the demonstrations. The newspaper estimated between 500 and 700 people, including women and children, participated in the march, opposing mass migration into Ireland. That began at the Garden of Remembrance and continued on to Custom House for speeches from members of the Freedom Party. Now, this is because Western Europe is being overrun by the left-wingers there who, have this one world thing and the EU and open borders and everybody from North Africa, Arabs, Muslims, not compatible with Irish Catholics, flooding the zone in Europe and the character of, I love diversity, you see. And it's not diverse to go to England and find that it looks like Amman, Jordan, and doesn't have the character of England anymore. Cultural diversity means that France gets to remain French. England gets to remain English. Ireland gets to remain Irish. And they get to maintain their cultural character. We're seeing the same thing happen here in the United States of America. Now, the flood, Greece. I love Greece, one of my favorite countries, one of my favorite places anywhere. Beautiful country of Greece. Italy, too. France is great. England is wonderful. Ireland is spectacular. The Scandinavian countries, great. They're all being overrun because lefties, with their open door policies, are destroying the Western cultures of the world. Western civilization is under assault right now. And we most certainly in the United States are no longer immune to all of this, which we had been for the longest time. But the left is here, and it's the Democrat Party, and they are not on our side. They are not with us. They want the fundamental transformation of America, as Barack Obama threatened, and he told us we better learn to speak Spanish because they've got some long-term plans for us, and these long-term plans don't allow for maintaining American customs, traditions, our history, our legacy, but never mind that. Never mind that. And again, from New York to Chicago, forget about California, we're seeing it all across the country because the Democrats, and again, tens of thousands of communist Chinese flooding into the country. Why? People from the Middle East by the thousands. Why? From Central Asia. Why? From Africa. No land bridge from Africa, no land bridge from any of these places to the United States. And we're being flooded, and cities are drowning and going bankrupt in this. which is a part of the left-wing call also to bankrupt us, the Cloward and Piven strategy, $34 trillion in national debt. Never mind all of this. But the Democrat Party is here to destroy the United States of America. And, that's because they're not on our side, are they? No, they're not. The former head of ICE removals in New York, Tom Feely, saying, listen, the governor could make this stop today in New York. Of course, President Biden could make this stop on a national level now. Let's go to Senator Tim Scott. Senator Tim Scott, great American, was on the Fox News channel this morning in the 8 a.m. hour, and I was paying attention to it for you. Senator Tim Scott talking about, we've got this Senate bill, right, and that's a big deal. We've got anarchy in New York, and that's a big deal. Anarchy because of illegal aliens. We've got these Venezuelan gangs in New York now, and Venezuela didn't want them, so now they're here, thanks to the Democrat Party, all right? And it's because they want to harm us. The Democrat Party wishes to harm us. They wish us ill. The United States of America, people, they're racists, they're anti-white. Everything they do turns out to be anti-black. They pander. I saw Joe Biden was, where's he campaigning? They said, he's working on the black and Hispanic votes. What are you going to do for people of this race that you're not going to do for the people of that race, you racists? Here is Senator Tim Scott. He's African-American, emphasis on American, and he's a United States senator. He's having none of it.
President Biden undid the successful measures that Trump put in place. If you can undo them, you can put them back again. So President Biden does not need legislative action to secure our border. That is simply a lie to the American people. What President Biden needs is intestinal fortitude to go ahead and do his job right now.
Mayorkas needs to do his job, and since he hasn't, he needs to be impeached, and that vote may come this afternoon or early this evening in the House of Representatives. And the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, will kill it in the Senate, but at least they'll be on the record, and that's about all you're going to get out of that Mayorkas thing. But the Republicans need to impeach him in the House because it's the appropriate thing to do, and Washington, D.C. is an accountability-free zone for people who commit crimes of all manner, from carjackings and lootings and selling their stolen wares as vendors on the sidewalk to, releasing criminals back onto the street and on and on. Let's go, and there's more. Let's go back to Tim Scott because, look, Joe Biden doesn't need legislation out of Congress. That's just political posturing. That's a political food fight. It's a fraud. It's a lie. And Joe Biden did this with 92 or 94 executive orders when he was first inaugurated to undo everything that was done to secure our border. And if he just undid what he has done, reversed what he has done, then we would have a secure border again. And they'll tell you, there's millions for a border wall. Really, 3 years in, you guys are going to come to us about a border wall? And now it's time for a border wall? You lying sacks of Jawea, honestly. Senator Tim Scott, how could Joe Biden secure our border?
He could restore the Remain in Mexico policy. Instead of going towards catch and release, instead of allowing 5,000 illegal immigrants a day, which is about 1.8 million a year, why not finish the wall, secure our border, double the number of agents down there, and make America safer under his presidency? But he's more interested in the politics of immigration than he is solving the problem of the greatest invasion in American history coming across our illegal open southern border.
He called it an invasion. See, when you're a Republican, it's racist to call it an invasion, even when you're black. But when the Al Sharpton wing of the Democrat Party, they call it an invasion, then man, Manischewitz, I am telling you. Joe Biden could fix this like that, lickety-split. But no, Senator Tim Scott, stating the obvious. If only we had a news media, we'd be having a very different conversation in this country.
President Biden right now can get the job done. He does not need any legislative action. Trump did it without legislative action. We know Biden can do it too. The will is not there. So if the will is not there, Brian, the questions I ask myself, if you don't have the will to enforce the laws already on the books, adding more laws to the books that only codifies another 2 million illegal immigrants, how do we explain that to our constituents?
Well, the Democrats, honestly, how do they don't have to explain it because the filthy media is so corrupt. The likes of Jake Tapper and George Snuffleupagus and all these Democrats, both of whom are former Democrat Party apparatchiks, just by the way. Pay no attention to that. Not a problem. We have a very corrupt media. The most corrupt institution in America is the American news media. All right, now let's go to New York, where they are in the midst of a crisis because of the tsunami of illegal aliens invading our country from communist China and Central Asia and the Middle East. And you remember that creep we found on the border of the video? You'll find out who I am. You're too stupid to know who I am. You'll find out who I am soon enough. And the Democrats are fine with this. I guess, when the killing really begins in earnest, maybe they'll change their minds, but maybe not. Because they are a lot like Al-Qaeda. They love death more than we love life. All right? Now, let's go to soundbite number 16. The New York City Police Commissioner is a man named Edward, I guess it's Cabin, and he's talking about the illegal aliens who don't have real identity papers because Biden just waves them into the country and Mayorkas just waved them into the country, and they're brutalizing women. You see, they have these gangs of Venezuelans in New York all over the place now. And on the moped gangs, which you see in third world countries, and now we're a third world country because the Democrat Party is a third world party. And they're doing everything they can to wreck the United States and turn it into a third world beep hole that all sane people will want to flee. The New York City Police Commissioner on what he's seeing.
A wave of migrant crime has washed over our city. They're essentially ghost criminals. No criminal history, no photos, no cell phone, no social media. Sometimes we're even unclear on a name or a date of birth. And on top of that, these operations are extremely sophisticated. They intentionally try to evade the police.
Yeah, and you see the woman that they grabbed and dragged, moped gang criminals, illegal aliens, dragged this woman into like a fire hydrant or something at a high rate of speed because they were robbing her. And this is not Buenos Aires. This is not, which is a lovely city where my wife and I have been on vacation many times, my best girl and I. It's not Rio de Janeiro where the gangs rule the roost. John Miller, the other day on CNN, former law enforcement himself and law enforcement analyst, longtime ABC, now CNN, left the CNN anchors slack-jawed.
There is this 1%er, criminal element that looks at a different opportunity here. These individuals, I went over their rap sheets yesterday, multiple charges, grand larceny, robbery, attempted robbery, grand larceny. This particular crew operated on mopeds and scooters. They were doing organized retail theft. They were doing snatches on the street, iPhones, iPads, clothing, so on and so forth. One of them that they are still seeking has 10 charges on one day because he's part of a pattern that's been going on. And I'm looking at the dates that their arrest started, which is probably close to when they got here. They've only been here a couple of months.
And they're being arrested all over the place. And listen to this. They rob everybody in New York. They vacation in Florida. Then they come back to rob people in New York again. Why don't they rob people in Florida?
What the detectives are telling me is they have crews here that operate in New York, do all their stealing, then go to Florida to spend the money and then come back. And I'm like, well, why don't they just stay and steal in Florida? And they said, because there you go to jail.
Oh.
Great reporting.
Stunned.
This is really interesting. Thank you, John.
Stunned silence from the CNN anchors. CNN headline today, NYPD, they love their colons, migrant criminal network linked to theft via moped caught on video. They're not telling the truth. New York Post, horrific video shows woman dragged along New York City street by migrant moped gang linked to dozens of brazen attacks and 62 grand larcenies. Don't go to New York. Don't come to Washington, D.C. The Democrats have ruined these cities and made them too dangerous for civilized people. Turned them over to illegal alien gangs. Hey, it's Chris Plant. Excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. We should only play Mexican music from now on. What do you think? Get in good with the Democrat Party before they murder everyone. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Jim calling from Tacoma Park, Maryland. James, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Telephone.
Hey, Jim.
Oh, yes. Hi, Chris, my buddy. How are you, my man?
I'm great. Thank you.
Good. What I was telling the gal a little while ago is that I just consider this axiomatic for people, the cartels that are blocking people or I should say allowing people to come in here at these folks' poor expense. But they are also, I would say, are guarding the people coming in to Mexico. So that's a pretty good chunk of change to get people coming and going.
You're talking about the cartels in Mexico and all the billions that they're making off of the human trafficking?
Yeah, who knows if it's beyond billion by now, but there's that money there. Well, not only that, but they're allowing it to happen, and for all that to go on from within our country is just sickening. I mean, I told the gal that I'm from Tacoma Park, and I personally witnessed what a lot of people don't see, and that is mattresses in the street, people barbecuing in the middle of the street, in the middle of a little area. I mean, just trash. It's a destruction of an area, and nobody even knows about it. And this has been going on for me like over 20 years, trying to get people's attention. And I keep somehow or another in the back of my mind, I picture all these reporters that get up into these sites where there's all of this destruction going on with a storm or whatever.
Well,
I've never seen anybody come here.
I tell you, Jen, the mattresses, and Tacoma Park is one of the most left-wing communities in America, the first nuclear-free zone in the United States of America. That worked real well. They're not on our side, Jim. The Democrats want to make La Cucaracha the new national anthem of the United States of America. It's about a cockroach. It's a friendly neighborhood cockroach. Since New York is doing so well that no one wants to go there, let's go back to New York. Governor Kathy Hochul, she's a Democrat and a not very bright person. She noticed that 5 illegal aliens that violently attacked 2 New York City police officers on the street very close to Times Square. And then they were arrested because the police arrested them. And the Democrats immediately let the criminals, illegal aliens, honestly, what do you have to do to get arrested by these people? I guess you have to claim executive immunity or something like that, presidential immunity. The Democrat Party is the party of criminals, and they put criminals in positions of power, like the district attorney, George Soros district attorney in New York. And you just let them go. You just let the criminals go. And then they commit more crimes, and then the police arrest them again, and then you let them go again, and then they commit more crimes. See how this works? Kathy Hochul, not a very bright one, apparently She's trying to figure it out.
The bail laws allow for people involved in the physical assault of a police officer to be charged as a bail-eligible offense, meaning right now that they should be sitting in Rikers.
Rikers Island is, a terrible, horrible prison, New York City, filled with criminals who have committed violent crimes. It's all Democrats. I think it's fair to say, not the guards and things, but it is a prison filled with Democrat voters, which is why the Democrats want to extend the vote to everybody incarcerated in the United States of America, because they know that that'll be a red letter day for them, a bonanza day for them. Mayor Eric Adams is a horrible disappointment as mayor of New York. He'll go down in history as one of the worst mayors in the history of the city of New York. And he's a Democrat, of course. Now, we learned this morning, I guess, that ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, has arrested, initially it was 3 of the illegal aliens involved in attacking the police in New York. And I guess the latest reports are that they've arrested all 5 of them in Phoenix, which is in Arizona, which is a long way from New York. And the New York City, Democrats, the criminals, they're going to have to figure out what to do about it. Migrants arrested by ICE agents in Phoenix, Arizona, might be suspects in NYPD cop beating who fled New York City. All right? And they let them go, and then they're halfway across the country. And then ICE, who they want to defund and they don't cooperate with, and they won't respond to requests from ICE. They won't do it in Montgomery County, Maryland, and they won't do it all over the country where Democrats are in charge, because they're criminals too. I mean, at what point do you say, well, they're protecting criminals, they're defending criminals, they're releasing criminals, they're ignoring the crimes? At what point does the Democrat Party become a part of this nationwide criminal syndicate? Mayor Eric Adams of New York City.
While these 5 individuals are migrants, I want to reiterate the overwhelming number of 170+ thousand migrants and asylum seekers are attempting to continue their next leg of their journey of pursuing the American dream.
By violating our laws and illegally sneaking into the country, step 1, start violating our laws. Step 2, vote Democrat is the way that the Democrat Party sees it, because the Democrat Party would steal every election if given half a chance to do so. Eric Adams also had an event yesterday in New York where he had members of his administration, and he's very proud to announce the racial composition of his administration, because Democrats are all mentally deranged racists. And they think the most important thing in hiring a person is the color of their skin, their melanin levels, their race. There is nothing more racist than that. And he's very pleased, and the cameras are there, and he's like, hey, look at this. I don't speak well, and I also hired a bunch of people based on their race.
Stand up. They need to see you. Deputy Mayor Williams-Ison, Deputy Mayor Mira Josie, Deputy Mayor Almanzar, Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer. Have you ever seen this much chocolate leading the city of New York? And then go down the line. Look who's here. This is representative of the city. That's why people are hating on me.
That's why people are hated on me. Hating on me is mispronounced there, but that's why people are hating on him, because nobody knows who your deputy mayor is on, or what the color of their skin is. You're racist, but you can be a racist. He's both of those, and you should be so proud, because New York City has never been in the gutter to the extent that it is today since the 1970s, before Rudy Giuliani took over and turned it back into a livable city. You've turned the city into a crime-ridden beep hole that people are fleeing like it's sinking. You shouldn't be proud of what you've done, and but he's proud, and they're hating on him because race. Now, this is a lie. He's a lying racist, racist, and a liar. Did I mention that he's a liar also? And listen to this, because, and everybody's standing up. Oh, let's look at the colored people. Now, look, if the New York City were the envy of the world right now, and people were flooding there to invest in this great, wonderful city, then you can stand up and take a bow. But you're taking a bow while the beeple city, known as New York City, has it at one of its lowest points in the history of the city. It's the Gangs of New York, Part 2, but he's really proud of his own racism.
You trying to figure out why they're hating on me? They hating on me because how many of you go to church?
Two people.
This is a Matthew 21:12 moment. Jesus walked in the temple. He saw them doing wrong in the temple. He did what?
Now he's Jesus.
I went to City Hall to turn the table over.
Well, heck of a job. Now there are more criminals on the street and Venezuelan gangs and radicals, and people are fleeing the city, and there are women being dragged by your moped gangs. By the way, all the mopeds and scooters that they use are stolen mopeds and scooters, naturally, as you'd expect. And, we should build a wall around the city and turn it into, just call it a prison. Send Snake Plissken in if we need to get anybody out. It's Escape from New York. Now, it's all about race with the Democrats, who are the party of racism and slavery and the Confederate States of America and the KKK and Jim Crow and standing in schoolhouse doors and the soft bigotry of low expectations and aborting 40% of the population in the womb. They're the biggest racists maybe in the world, but there are others competing for that. You got your, Islamist groups and things. Now, let's go to Chicago, where the Democrat mayor is also an African-American man. And again, Washington, D.C., the crime where we have a black mayor. And look, it doesn't matter if the city's running great, but New York City is not running great. Chicago is not running great. It's not going well in Chicago or in New York. It's not going well in Washington, D.C. It's, we're becoming a third world country. Now, here comes Let's Go Brandon Johnson in Chicago. And he was asked by a reporter, hey, are you going to visit the border? And listen to the answer he gives to whether he's going, because the city's being overrun by Democrat policies and gangs and murder and mayhem and shooting and criminality, and people are fleeing Chicago, and because Democrats. Here's Democrat Mayor Brandon, who's African-American, just in case you didn't know.
I have children who attend schools who have soccer games, y'all. You all are asking me as if I'm not a parent in this city.
What?
I get it. I'm mayor. I get it. But you're asking me to give you a date, and I have to court. Do you understand that you have not had a mayor like me? I get that.
What?
I have a wife. I have children. They have schedules. And plus, we still have public safety that we have to address. We still have the unhoused that we have to address. I still have a budget that I have to address. And I'm doing all of that with a black wife raising 3 black children on the west side of the city of Chicago. I am going to the border as soon as possible.
Somebody clapped. What is wrong with you people? You people are mentally ill. This is, our country is, we're circling the drain because of these people, because of you people, Democrats with your lame-brained ideas, and you think everything's about race. You are aware that the Democrat Party is the party of all of the bad things. The racial stain on American history is the Democrat Party. And you stand up there and, now, wait a minute, what does the race of your wife and your children have to do with whether you're going to visit the border or not? And you've never had a mayor like me before? Chicago had its first black mayor about a half century ago. Harold Washington, he was a Democrat. He was a cross-dresser. He dressed like a lady. And the Democrats loved him. At least that was the book on him. You've had the last mayor, Lori Lightweight, is a black lesbian, POC, WOC, LGBTQIA. The Democrats love all of these divisive characteristics, all of these divisive elements. They're truly amazing. They're appalling. Honestly, your what? Your wife is black and your children are black, which would follow. That would make sense. And we've never had a mayor like you before. What does that mean? Who are you? fooling. Wow. You people.
Do you understand that you have not had a mayor like me? I get that.
Yeah. How have we not had a mayor like you? That's not true. That's not true. Now, in Washington, D.C., I woke up this morning, and not in the Washington Post because they don't report the news at all, but amazing stories. Woman left to crawl back home after being attacked, robbed in Washington, D.C. The 26-year-old victim crawled back to her home while 3 suspects fled the scene. Woman who was the victim of brutal robbery in Washington, D.C., left crawling back to her home after the violent encounter just before midnight on Sunday. 26-year-old woman walking on 2nd Street Northwest. When she saw a black sedan pull up, 3 people exited the vehicle, began running toward her. She couldn't carry a gun, so she couldn't defend herself because the Democrats don't believe she'd be allowed to defend herself in their crime-ridden cities. The woman told officers, according to a police report obtained by Fox News Digital, the woman started running away from the 3 suspects, as you might expect, who pushed her to the ground and repeatedly sprayed her with mace. She also said she felt what she believed was a knife at her side when she was on the ground. The suspect stole her wallet with her debit card, credit cards, ID, insurance card, and demanded that she unlock her iPhone before taking that with them too. She crawled back to her home while the suspects fled. I definitely feel shaken up, she said. Just a general feeling of being unsafe in my own neighborhood. I just feel like personally targeted and sort of violated. Well, and with good reason. I love D.C., she said. It just makes me sad. It should make you furious that this is going to change how I experience D.C. and interact with the neighborhood. Now, police are still searching for the suspects, the thing, just amazing, which they said were 3 African-American males. But pay no attention because there will be no arrests in this. Also, carjackings, homicides, and robberies are stealing a sense of security across Washington, D.C. This is a CNN story, believe it or not. Kind of amazing. From yesterday, homicides, carjackings, robberies across Washington, D.C. have affected prominent politicians and regular residents alike, leaving many in the nation's capital fearful of rising crime. While other major cities saw a drop in violent crime, the nation's capital suffered a 39% increase last year. Now, this is a bit weaselly by CNN. Because the talking point that the Biden Justice Department put out is that crime is down everywhere. Now, I don't know anybody anywhere that thinks that crime is down where they are, and it's not because they're wrong. You know, we were just talking about New York, which is completely out of control, and now they've got Venezuelan gangs stealing scooters and mopeds to go around brutalizing women and stealing things. But in New York, and, you know, they take these fake stats because crime spiked in a lot of places in 2022 because of Democrats. And then in 2023, it ticked down, 1%, 2%, and they say, oh, look, there were only 496 murders here this year. Last year, there were 512 murders. So as you can see, crime is down. But in New York City, and the New York Post did this correctly, look at crime compared to 2019 rather than just last year, and you will see that, 22 to 23. You'll see that in New York City, murders between 2019 and 2023, murders up 23%. Robberies up 27%. Felony assault up 35%. Burglary up 30%. Grand larceny up 17%. Auto theft up 194%. In Washington, D.C., increase in robberies in 2023 just from 2022, up 67%. Increase in thefts in Washington, D.C., 22 to 23, up 23%. Carjackings up about 100%. More than 100%, actually. And what are they doing? This is it's a happy music. They got a little happy music. And President Trump again vowing a federal takeover of Washington, D.C., which I'm entirely in favor of. 100% in favor of a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. It would be the right thing to do, and it would save a lot of lives because the Democrats who blame the Jews for snow, who defund the police, who release criminals back onto the street, get more people murdered, more people robbed, more people carjacked, you know. And now Venezuelan gangs. The Democrats just want to have a political food fight over a bad Senate bill that won't fix anything because they're not here to fix things. They're here to destroy. I think I'm riled up about the Democrats today, aren't I?
And I'm doing all of that with a black wife raising 3 black children on the west side of the city of Chicago.
The Washington, D.C. Fire Department was dispatched this morning to the Catholic University of America here in the city of Washington, to the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception at Catholic University, a grand cathedral larger than the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. D.C. Fire Department was dispatched for an illegal fire call at the National Basilica at Catholic University. Turns out that it was the burning of the palms for Ash Wednesday.
Engine 12 Communications. 4th Avenue at Basilica. They were making ashes for Ash Wednesday with palms. They do it annually. No fire department service required.
No fire department service required. Cool fire department voice there. Great stuff. They were dispatched. You know, this sounds like it might be swatting by leftists because you know how leftists are. And they probably a deliberate fake call. Hey, there's a fire at the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception at the Catholic University of America. It's probably something that, well, either that or it's Ash Wednesday because, you know, Easter's coming up. Your Democrat Party, they don't do anything properly or right or well or legally most of the time. Remarkable stuff. Well, happy Ash Wednesday, everyone, especially at the Catholic University of America. God bless America and God save us all. We'll see you here tomorrow.